think people do edit themselves
Right.
on email and
Right.
text and social media, even if they don't realize that they are right now.
Right. And I think one of the problems with having surveillance become increasingly pervasive is people start behaving like that, even if they don't know that they're behaving like that. You just choose to self-censor, and so you eventually get to the point where you don't need a censorship apparatus to operate. People just naturally hold back, and surveillance to me is that kind of censorship system, right? Creating even the perception of a pervasive surveillance system that you can't evade ends up restricting the conversations that people have. And I think in many ways that's as damaging an effect as the fact that somebody actually might be listening in on a conversation, right? People.
Yeah, you need strong social discourse.
Right, you really do. Like, you cannot function in a society if everybody is holding back.
Well, you can, you just need to have a dictator run it.
Right. And you know, I mean, societies, of course, have always existed with a degree of that kind of check. But I mean, I think the belief in an open society is the more speech you have, the more ability people have to speak freely, the better it is for a society.
Tell me a little bit about this idea we were talking about, a paper you wrote maybe a decade ago about private-public web.
Someone's having a conversation with their friends and they say something, and then suddenly the whole world knows, right? Like, that tweet gets retweeted and it gets sent out to a lot of people. And sometimes those things are genuinely shocking, right? Someone will say something racist or incredibly offensive, and it reveals something about their personality. But sometimes it's just that people say stuff when they're talking privately that they would wrap up in a far more formal manner. And I think one of those examples is swearing. So at the time when I wrote that paper,
no fucking way.
right? You wouldn't fucking say that in an interview, right? And you know, it's shocking, right? When we're having this very formal
that was
conversation.
actually kind of fun.
Right. You know, it's free, but you know, you have this kind of formal conversation with one another, and you don't say that sort of stuff. And 8 years ago, when I wrote this document, it was really rare for celebrities or anyone in that public space to swear. And if they did, it was a career-limiting move, right? If a major celebrity had been said fuck, right? We've become, perhaps unfortunately, used to having our private conversations suddenly liberated from that context, and then the rest of the world gets to see them. Sometimes we can.
Are you tweeting about me right now?
I have my own phone over there and recording and live streaming this whole thing, which is why I'm talking so funnily, right? I mean, the odd thing, you know, just to get ridiculously meta about this, no one talks like we talk. Like, I'm not actually facing you, like, right? Like, there's this whole mannerism about this conversation, which is weird. Like, you would have interrupted me. I'm blathering on, right? And in any normal conversation, you would have gone, "Yeah, that's great," right? And stepped in. But because we are in front of a camera, I get to talk without being interrupted, except by an editor, and you get to ask, like, kind of impertinent questions. Well, I think one of the interesting things about privacy is that it shifts, right? You know, there was a time when people have very little privacy because they lived in very small communities, and everything was shared. I mean, I think that privacy comes from that space before you speak, right? Where you're thinking about, you're balancing all of these things out, and you're trying to come to a conclusion about who you are, about what you think. You can't really even operate in a public space without having that place to withdraw to. So I think the main pressure on creating a private space is that the public space just stops functioning.
Well, it's a safe playground, as Cory Doctorow.
Right. I would hate to see if we really do enter into an environment where mass surveillance online and in the United States and in the rest of the world really just becomes a pervasive and accepted reality, I don't think a society like that can actually survive. Um, and that would be a bad thing because I live in that society and I would quite like it to continue.